Good morning. Welcome to week 12. I wanted to just take a moment to speak with you about this week's assignments, what you have due. Last week you turned in your passport application. I have graded those and put those into your boxes at the mailroom. However, I don't have a grade on the papers themselves, on the passport applications. Instead, your grade is posted onto the e-class. And most of you did really well. The only thing I did count off for was where there were a few items that you left blank. It's important when you fill out any type of visa application, passport application, any type of paperwork that you're very thorough. You may think, well, they don't need this information. You have to understand these organizations are governments, so it's not like you're applying for a car or something and you're afraid you're going to get calls that are going to solicit things from you and ask you to buy things. This is the governments, and different governments require as much information as possible because they want to keep a pretty close tab on who you are, what you do, and have information about you that's available. And leaving anything blank gives them the right, or the right on their part to just completely put away the application for visa or whatever it may be and deny it. So you need to make sure you're very thorough on those. The only thing I ask you not to fill out on those applications was not to fill out your social security number and a picture, and that's because I didn't want you to have the expense of the picture, and your social security number is very private. That information doesn't need to be just openly out there, even at the mail room at BBC or any place else where it can be accessed easily. So the other information, your address, your phone numbers, contact information, emergency phone numbers, those things, yes, they're easily accessible even on Google. So you need to be able to have that information, and that all should have been filled out. Now for this week, you need to make sure that you're completing your next reading report by Friday. Make sure that's complete. We only have about 4 weeks left of school, and I'm sure many of you are very happy about that. But finish the reading report. Same thing. Make sure one full page per chapter of these questions that are asked. So that means you need to be thorough. If you are falling below that, or you're not answering the question, and by the way, I'm looking to see that you've read the material and your answers that you're giving are from the book. If you are not giving them from the book, you're going to find some deductions on your grade. If you're not thorough, deductions on your grade. So make sure you're taking time to do the assignment. The next thing that you will be working on is the April forum. We just completed the March forum. I'll be grading that this week. I've made a few comments already. The April forum's different. Some of you have said, are we going to cover certain topics in this class? And because of the limited scope of it, the time, it's an e-class, we don't have a lot of time for asking questions. So I open up the April forum for you to ask questions in regard to preparation for the field. Now, they has to be topic related with preparing for going to the field. Some of it, if it's too specific, you're probably going to need to look it up on your own, but I'll at least give you direction on how to do that. However, you need to ask one question in a thread. That's very simple. It's not even the 500 words this time. So one question in a thread, and from that I'll try to answer within 24 to 48 hours, and then that gives you, all of you, opportunities to respond back to that or ask further questions. But again, everybody needs to post at least one your original thread with a question to be answered. Now, it's also important that you're reading the other threads. If you ask a question that's already previously been presented by a student in the class, it will not count towards it, and it will affect your grade. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to post another question. If you don't post another question, then that means you don't get any credit for your question. That's 80 points. 80 points for your question. Okay, so it's very important that you go through, read the other threads, make sure when you ask a question that your question is unique. Okay, in regard to the thread. If it's not, I will post a answer back to you, or maybe even write you an email through your BBC email and let you know you need to repost something else because your question won't count. If you're not able to post a new thread altogether, then you will just write it under as a reply to your original question that, okay, disregard the first part, here's my actual question. Okay? So, wishing you well. Have a great week. You're going to find this week, next week, there's not a lot to do really in terms of classwork. Just be on top of what has to be done. Have a great week.